I think a lot of it is like the confidence in you, right?
Yeah.
Did you do it the first time? And do you think you can do it better the second time? Most of the time, once you've done it once, like it's a whole lot easier to do it better the second time.
Yeah.
So I know even some of the builds that we've got going on right now, it's like, if I do this again, like this is what I'd change, and that right there, just seeing them come together with things that you already want to kind of shift around. That to me is just a case in point for this. It's like you could build the most amazing thing ever if you do it 2 or 3 times.
Alrighty, welcome back to another edition of the Hideaway Show Behind the Curtain. Mike and Jordan coming to you from our offices. We're actually back. We're not traveling the country. It's been at least for me, I will say I've been gone for 2 weeks between family vacation and then with the last 3 or 4 days we were out in Phoenix at the Level Up Your Listing Summit, which was fantastic. But I will say it is nice to be back. I was a little bit bummed, I may have posted something that said, the Uber ride to the airport, bummed because you miss all the people, but it was good seeing everyone and also good being able to come back and see the family as well.
Yeah, dude, that was a fun time. Honestly, thunderstorm that we got in Phoenix, I was pretty shocked at. Didn't know they got thunderstorms, but
yeah, they don't. It's an anomaly. It's like 1 in a million. So when it started raining, when we were unloading everything, I was like, wait, it doesn't rain in Phoenix. Like it was supposed to be dry, but it was a great conference. We were known as the front desk boys there for a while.
Just posted up working in the front.
Yep, post up working in the front. We stuffed and loaded like over 350 swag bags, which was I will say it was a workout. Got our steps in, but those swag bags were killer. The conference was great, and we'll dive into that a little bit today. So, how long was your flight when you went back? Did you say it was like 4 hours getting back home?
Yeah, we were like 4 hours and 15 minutes going out there and like 3.5 hours going back. So it was a little bit shorter because of the wind direction.
Nice.
Yeah, it was nice, but it was honestly it was pretty simple. First trip with the kid, which was interesting. He did great to my surprise. I was a little nervous about having him on there, but everything went really smooth. It was good.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. He's joining you live in studio. We can't see him. We might hear him, but he's there. He's rocking it with you.
Fingers crossed that it's my eyes only and nobody else will hear from him the whole episode.
This is the reality for everyone that's listening. We are hosts. We're also family men, and we're dads, and we got kids. So we do what we got to do. We roll with the punches, and we got Adrian joining us from the bassinet. So welcome,
episode number 1,
Adrian.
9 weeks.
There we go. But I do want to talk about the Love Up Your Listing Summit. It was a great time. Shout out Natalie and Tatiana for an amazing event and letting us be the front desk boys and meet every single person that walked through the front door. I thought that was a cool way to meet every single person that went to the event, right? They got to go past us to get in. We got to see that ID. We got to see on the list and get to, I even talked to a few people up there and, figured out where they were from and what they were doing. So that was
cool.
A
success up there. We got to meet all the big names, the keynotes that came through. We got 4 or 5 different interviews were scheduled for both the product that we're putting together and future podcast episodes. It was fun. And we got to pick and choose the sessions that we went to that were the most valuable. As I couldn't have had more fun there. Yeah,
it was really cool. And I will say this, you see all these people on camera and you see, people doing what we're doing, sharing everything about short-term rentals and even like bigger name people like, Bolt Farm Treehouse and Isaac French. And for whatever reason, it was kind of weird to me. Like we were just sitting at the front desk working and like all of a sudden you look up and Isaac's like, "Hey guys, I'm here to check in." I was just like, it was so cool to be surrounded by people like Isaac, people like Natalie, people like Seth and Tori Bolt. Cool to talk with them and learn more about their stories. So I absolutely loved it. So, but with that, I had so many different like takeaways from that conference that it was like, trying to work on the plane, work in the airport, trying to already implement those things within our business. But I wanted to debrief with you and share to the audience today some of the key takeaways that you had from the conference, and then I'll finish this off and share a couple that really stuck out to me.
Yeah, honestly, I think the majority of my takeaways were from the conversations that we had. Talking to Seth and Tori, talking to some of the people just throughout the conference at what they were doing. A couple of people grew their Instagram audience. A couple of people were really good at development and whatnot. And I think it was both validating and educational. I'd say more validating than educational, but one of them was that I took away was essentially like building as you go and not being afraid to sell. Um, I say that not because someone told me to do it, but because so many people that we talk to were like, when I get it perfect, right, then I'll do it. Like I need to learn all of the process and I need everything laid out and I got to think through it with every single different angle. And I could have made $100,000 building, furnishing, launching, and then selling a house in the 10 months that it would take them to actually like learn all of those steps. So I think that's been a big thing for me over the past few months as I go to sell some of my first properties and just seeing the upside and working on a calculator that I'm going to put together of if I get 100K today versus keep running this for 12 months, and then see what the appreciation is then, like what's the actual cash value of those two different activities. But there's so much to be said for just get into the first one, understand you're not going to get it 100% right. You can sell it and then you can do it again, either just down the road or a whole different market. It's up to you.
Right.
So,
And if you get in on a market that's appreciating or booming, even from an STR perspective, being able to sell, is definitely a feasible option to where if the market's growing and you go to look and say, hey, let's see what this thing has done in 10 months time or 12 months time, whatever that may be, and see like, wow, like I could sell this thing for 50,000, 75,000, 100,000 more than I bought it. Then I love what you said there. It's very much, you have to ask yourself an honest question like, hey, do I take the 100,000 and roll into a bigger project, or is the cash flow there to where it doesn't make sense to sell this time? I would say you'd be hard pressed to not take 100K on something like that and roll into something bigger, because that 100K could lead to 250 or 300K on the next.
Well,
deal.
I think a lot of it is like the confidence in you, right? Yeah. Did you do it the first time, and do you think you can do it better the second time? Most of the time, once you've done it once, like it's a whole lot easier to do it better the second time. Yeah. So I know even some of the builds that we've got going on right now, it's like, if I did this again, like this is what I'd change, and that right there, just seeing them come together with things that you already want to kind of shift around. That to me is just a case in point for this. It's like you could build the most amazing thing ever if you do it 2 or 3 times. And you can make money on all of those.
Very true. And I mean, even the biggest names like Seth and Tori Bolt even mentioned it. Like they were looking at their first property. And I think Isaac mentioned it too. He's like, I still see things in a property that everyone puts up on a pedestal that says is perfect. They look at it and they're like, I would have done that differently.
Yep.
I would have done that differently. I would have done that better.
Yeah.
So they are not exceptions to that rule at all. They are very much the same as us, have just done bigger scale deals and been successful and are known for it. So
yeah, I'm with you. The other one that I wrote down was the importance of finding your target audience. And this is everywhere that we go. Like we're talking to people and they're like, well, I really want to go after this audience, right? And they've got it perfect in the first sentence. But then what they follow up with is like, but I don't want to exclude, right? And then they start listing every other person that's in that market, right? So the gorge has rock climbers and hikers and jeepers and families and couples and engagements and honeymoons and all that. And it's like, if you cater to every group that I just said, you cater to absolutely no one, right? You've got a generic run of the mill cabin that applies to every single person. So really, especially in the build process, build to an avatar, give them a name, give them an age, give them activities, interests, likes, dislikes, like where they're coming from, and build the whole house to that one person. You'll still get other people that go there, but build it all to that one person. And if you want to cater to the entire market, build a house for every single different customer avatar that's in that market, but don't do one house to everyone.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a natural life cycle of every investor or every business owner, right? They're like, well, if I niche down too much, then I'm leaving money on the table. And it's like, no, you're really not. You're actually leaving money on the table by trying to.
Where are the riches, Jordan? You know it. Where are the riches?
Oh, I thought you said we're the richest. I'm like, stop.
We are not. Stop. I wish we were. But I said, where are the riches?
Yes, exactly. They are in the niches. It's one of those things where I think naturally most people just go through it because it's hard to believe it the first time around, right? Like at first, like the theory seems backwards, but until you really like think through it and are within it, then it starts to be like, okay, these people are right. People do know what they're talking about that went before me, that I do need to niche down and focus on this targeted audience.
Yep. 100%. What
So,
about you, mate?
I
What's
was,
your list?
you know, I'll probably sound like I'm like fanboying over like Seth and Tori Bolton, Isaac, but I'm not, but they were at least Seth and Tori Bolt really stuck out to me with what they shared. And it was this concept, to be bold enough to share your story with your guests, not just, being like, hey, here's a cool cabin to go lay your head, but like share the story with your guests of like how the cabin came to be. Like, what was the intentionality behind it? What was the purpose for that property? Why do you host guests? Why does the property itself exist? And they talked about that with their treehouse. And I believe they mentioned the treehouse was built by Seth and his dad, I believe,
I think
for
that's right.
their wedding. And I didn't know that, but I think they share that with their guests through booking. And how cool of a story is that, to be able to come in and stay at a place that someone built for a special occasion like that they get to share with people across the country. And I think they do a really good job of, it's more than just telling the story, right? It's telling the telling the story, but delivering on the experience once they get there.
Yeah.
And I think they do a fantastic job with that. Plus, I think most of their properties have a killer view, so that just naturally helps.
Yeah.
But, being bold to tell your story to your guests, but also being bold enough to tell your story to other investors. Be vulnerable enough to, share with other investors, especially at conferences, that you're not perfect and some of the challenges that you're facing. I think it comes across bad when you're going to a conference and be like, yeah, I got 20 properties. I'm crushing it here. I got, $10,000 per month cash flow, across just 2 properties or whatever it may be, right? It almost comes across as bragging versus like go into it from a humble perspective and be like, hey, I'm not perfect. How can I learn from people in this room? Because you may want to think trying to act like the smartest and most valuable resource in the room will be beneficial, but it really won't be. You want to be, and it's tough, I'll be honest with you, to be vulnerable and say like, hey, we're not perfect. We're still trying to figure things out. How are you doing it? What have you learned through your experience? Because everyone's experience in a room of 350 people is different. And I think it would be foolish not to tap into that experience and be like, okay, could we do something like that within our business? Could we approach how we, provide our properties to our guests differently based off how this person out in, Arizona is doing it? So I just thought the concept of sharing your story with guests and to other hosts was spot on and absolutely crucial.
I think they did a really good job with that. I also will say that if there's anybody at the conference to fangirl over, I think Seth Bolt is the one to do it. He just the laid backness, the attention, just all around great guy from what I could tell, but also the fact that he showed up despite his wife's best advice with 1 pair of jeans and a trucker hat and was like, this is what I'm wearing. Before we went to the conference, I read that there was a nice dinner that we needed to go to. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear what I'm going to wear. And if people don't want to bring me to their dinner because of my clothes, it's perfectly fine. I'll be better off not doing that anyway. But I just really connected when he got up on stage and said that and talked about his spill and whatnot. I was like, man, I'm in. This guy's awesome.
I knew you would love every second of that because I saw him come in, trucker hat and jeans, and I'm like, he leans into his brand, right? He's like, this is who I am. This is, I'm not going to try to dress up and be someone I'm not. And I think that carries a lot more weight than trying to put on something flashy and be something that you wouldn't be. So, I guess Mike, you got permission from Seth Bolt that you can wear jeans to any event. You can spill salsa on your pants, and you can wear a trucker hat whenever you want. And it'll be more
get
than
up
fine.
and do a big presentation in front of 300 people.
Exactly. I think that's what I love about this industry. There really isn't any judgment. I shouldn't say there are probably people out there that are judgmental, but everyone's so welcoming and just they're not so much worried about your appearance or what you look like, but more so what's your experience and what, how can you help each other in this industry? I heard a lot of people say, at the end of conversations at the conference, how can we work together? How can I help you? What could I provide of value to you? And I thought that was really cool to see. And, I think a lot more people need to do that. So
100%. I agree with that entirely.
Hey guys, real quick, the only way we can continue to grow this show to bring on bigger and better guests is if you guys rate, review, and share the show. So if If you could take 2 seconds and leave us a quick 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, it would mean the world to us. But even better than that, we'll be able to reach more real estate investors and help them build out their dreams through unique short-term rentals. Now back to the show.
And the second one that really stuck out to me, in a list of 100 that I thought were great, was, sharing your vision as a host can actually lead to unexpected collabs and partnerships. We were walking around, we got introduced to a few people. One startup company in specific, STRIQ is what they're going by now, previously STRIQ. So you can call it STRIQ or STRIQ. But we had a great conversation with them about kind of what we're doing, what our vision is with our properties, and what we're doing at the Hideaways. And I think it led to a conversation and essentially a working relationship with them that I don't think going into this conference we had any expectation that would happen, right? And I thought that was really cool to see. And I think that came from just a perspective like, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, this is our vision, right? Not trying to, again, force something that, shouldn't be forced. Just share what you have to offer, and maybe something great will come of it. And I think it did, and I'm excited to work alongside them here for the foreseeable future and utilize their product, which is fantastic.
Their product is fantastic, and getting in early with them was really cool. They're a relatively new company. They had one of their one of the softwares, one of the applications that they launched. They just put live on Friday. We got access to it on Sunday. So it was like a huge benefit to us just to be early in there. But they also gave us emails and said, whatever it is that you guys think would make this more valuable, please send to us to make sure that we can add that into the dashboard, like a little export feature and those kind of things. And it was awesome. And the different use cases for investing, like if you're analyzing a deal or selling, it's like this could easily become a marketplace where you could filter down to cash on cash returns for your deal. If you wanted to buy a place that had X amount returns or X amount revenue, that's the place that you can do it.
Yep. I love the fact that he called it's the Zillow for STR hosts. It's the Zillow for short-term rental investors. And it is because I think what's so nice about that is that information and data is very sparse and limited when you are going to buy a property on Zillow. You go through the process of working with an agent and then working to get that information versus being able to scan a market from a mass perspective and filter down to properties and check out different cash on cash returns for that property, historical revenue, things like that. I was just wowed and impressed by them at this conference. I had recently talked to them. I think I mentioned this to you at STR Wealth Conference out in Nashville, I think the year before. And at that point, they just had the app where you could go in and filter down and search for properties within a market that would show up the cash on cash. But now that they have the ability to, they've integrated AI into this new dashboard that they just released. What do you say? Whenever it was.
It was literally a few days before the conference.
I was going to say it was like a few days before conference or the first day of the conference they had launched it. And being able to look at your property and understand okay, this is what we project for your property, and here's where you stand against the market, and give you an idea of okay, what's it going to take to get from, if I'm at the 50th percentile within my market or the 75th percentile, how do I get to the 90th, or how do I get up to the 75th? I thought their utilization of AI within that was cool. So
they
really
did have
excited.
a whole AI breakdown, which is neat. You put it in there and tells you, it tells you all that. And then he's got quick links to all of the Airbnb listing. So if you want to see who's doing over 100 and can I get there, it's just open that up real quick and see if you can do that.
That's right. I forgot about that feature. See, I haven't dug into the product, in depth a ton. I spent a little bit of time yesterday at the airport and on the plane looking into it. And, it takes a little bit of time just to learn new applications of software. I will say theirs is very user-friendly and very simple and straight to the point.
For having launched it the day prior, I'm like, dude, this is they gave us full on access to get in and look at it. And it was not, a quick demo that they put together with one market that we could look at. It was everything. And it had the revenue of my cabin down within $1,000 of the last 12 months revenue. Yeah. I was blown away.
Yeah. And I think they'll as more hosts get on board onto that application and into STRIQ, I think it's going to be just better and better for investors. And, give it a year or two, and I think STRIQ will be a very well-known company. But
for sure. They already are threatening Airbnb or AirDNA, they said they used to have a
Right.
partnership, and AirDNA is like, I don't know if we want to keep doing this with you guys.
Yep. Yeah.
So-
Matt, which we'll have him on the podcast here at some point in time, but Matt, and I think it's his wife or fiance. I know they are together. I did ask that, and they're fantastic. Matt and you, I think, could just go back and forth for hours.
Yeah.
Because he is very much an idea guy, just like you, Mike. And he just, idea left and right. But he's got a contagious energy to him, just a vibrant individual, and he's a cool guy to talk to. And yeah, really excited to work with them moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great conference. I know we did a podcast with Tanya Rooney, I think, less than a year ago. And after that, we stayed in close contact with her, and she told us of all the conferences to go to, this is the one. It's technically a summit, so excuse me for using conference. But of every event that you can go to, she said this is the one that she would recommend the most. And we didn't book it then. We booked it a little while after that, due to a nice invite that we got from one of the hosts. And it was like so much more than I expected. I looked online and I was like, I really got stuck on the pink, background on the website. And I was like, I don't know if that's for me, and I was very, very, very pleasantly surprised. Like, it was an absolutely awesome conference. Everybody did a fantastic job. So.
Yeah. And you even got that hat there. You're still rocking that hat. That might be the new favorite hat.
I'll tell you one thing that will prove the design theory, right? Like, if you don't like it, it doesn't matter. You need to show it to a million more people. I saw this and I was like, you know what? I'm going to support their brand. I'm going to support what they're doing instead of wearing my own like Blue Ridge, Georgia hat. Like, I'm going to put on a different one. I threw this on, not even really understanding it. I was like, I kind of get it, but like, I don't get it. I didn't think it was that funny. I thought it was just a hat. I have it like probably 20 people have commented on this hat, and they're like, oh, I love your hat. I had 3 people today. They showed up sequentially on a group call today. All 3 of them started with like, oh, I really like that hat. Like, and then 2 seconds later, someone else would join and be like, hey, Mike, I really like that hat. And I was like, what is happening right now?
Hey, that's the $1,000 hat. It's the $1,000 hat that never got sold.
I will sell anybody that wants this hat, the hat for $1,000 plus shipping.
Yeah, the $1,000 hat is too funny. Well, I actually tried mine on when I got home. I had mine on the bag, and I put mine on, and normally like low crowns like that or mid crowns like that don't fit my head well, but it fits perfectly. And I was kind of torn because I brought it home, and I told Allie, I was like, you'll love this hat. It'll fit your head perfectly. And she put it on. And she's like, it fits good. And she's like, you put it on. So I put it on. She's like, it fits good. And I was almost gonna be like, sorry, you snooze, you lose. This is my hat now. She said we could share it. So who knows? Maybe you'll see me in it. You'll see Allie in it. I think that was the right play, right?
Yeah.
As a husband.
100%.
Right 100%. Decision. Okay.
It doesn't really matter if you're just getting a little bit of credit in this form, because you could have said, I'm going to keep it. And then a week later, you just wouldn't know where it was, and she'd be wearing it around work. So like, at least this way you get the bonus points of saying like, it'll be our hat.
That's right. That's right. That's fair. That's fair. But no, so the hat was a huge hit. And Gil, we also met Gil with Crafted Stays there. We saw a lot of people that I kind of didn't expect to see. And it's like, oh, I know that person. Yeah, I know that person. Yeah. It's really cool when you start going to conferences, how you realize a lot of the same people go to all the different conferences. And it's really cool. Someone's a special person where you can just pick up a conversation, where you left off, or you can just act like no time has passed at all. Right. I think Tanya is a perfect example. I think if there weren't speakers there, we could have been talking up front with Tanya for hours. Like, we were just going back and forth on just every sort of topic. Right. But it's so cool to be able to connect with people more than just over camera like this or on a podcast, to be able to sit there in person and just talk about, STRs and this industry, but then also talk about life, talk about what's going on outside of this. It was really cool to connect with people on that level.
I think Tanya did a really good job too. She kind of like hits, not below the belt is right way to say it, but like,
she's bold. She's bold.
Yeah, she's bold. She goes for the good questions, and like, she started asking everybody. She's like, how do you pay your bills? And I was like, dude, what a great like actual question. Yeah, there's equity, there's tax benefits, there's all these other things, but like, isn't it enough that you're actually paying your bills on a monthly basis with the things that you're doing? And it's amazing how many people say no. She said the most common answer was, oh, my husband or wife has a W-2.
Yep.
I was like, wow. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a real question, but yeah, when she mentioned that, it's like, it gets you thinking, right? And you're like, huh, you know, it's not, I think that's where the value is. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. Everyone I think tries to portray this image that, like, buy 2 rental properties and you can leave your W-2 job tomorrow. Sure, I'm sure
Yep.
some people can, but more than likely, you're going to have to go through the mud and go through the struggles and issues and all the ups and downs that come with this. But I think once you get on the other side of that, I think there's so much upside and potential with that. And, you
Yep.
know, it may not be the first year or the second year, but maybe year 3, 4, 5, or 6. That's when you start to see, those things really tick up. You really catch your stride. And then if you exit properties and you get in a position to sell, you see some of these properties are worth 75,000,
Yep.
100,000,
Yep.
150,000 more than what it was that you bought. Let's say you have 4 of those.
Yep.
4 properties at 100,000 more than you bought them, let's say.
Yep.
Not saying
Yep.
you would have that. That's $400,000. That's a decent chunk of change.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so I know you got the little man there, so we're not gonna hang around here too long today. So everyone listening, we're gonna have a shorter pod today. Adrian was very specific. He told us he had another meeting to go to. He could only be here for under 30 minutes. So we want to respect Adrian's time on today's pod. But Mike, tell Adrian we appreciate him being on the pod. It was great having him there. He was a great sport. And I don't think he made too much of a noise. Now you may have went on mute. Maybe we didn't hear it, but I think he did great.
I was gonna say we were using the trigger finger over here, trying to keep it as quiet as possible. So
well, he did great. So, but anyways, Level Up Your Listing Summit was great. Shout out Natalie, Tatiana, Tanya, everyone that we met at the conference. It was great seeing everyone there. So until next year with that summit. So who knows? Maybe we'll meet up with those people sooner than that. But
can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be great. So anyways, that does it. Another amazing episode of the Hideaway Show Behind the Curtain. I'm Jordan Holmes. He's Mike Sebastian. And don't forget about Adrian. Until next time, everyone, take care.